How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffle and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. So now that Pokemon Unite is out on the mobile, I thought it would only make sense to take a look at the top 10 new Pokemon we need in Pokemon Unite. Since the game won't be releasing on any more platforms, it's mainly going to be on mobile and Switch, and I thought we'd take a look at some of the possible Pokemon they could introduce. So sit back, relax, and let's get started with number 10. Coming in number 10 is going to be Zoroark. Now, the thing with Zoroark is it's one of those badass Pokemon, specifically this one is from Generation 5, that has that kind of design that would make sense. Also, it does have a pre-evolution, so in this case, it would be one of those Pokemon that would need to evolve. As for what kind of moves we could expect, well, we got the Dark typing in here, so it would only make sense to have some darker moves, and I would kind of assume and want it to more or less either be an attacker or a speedster. I think it would fit well as a speedster as well, with some quick attacks. Then again, it is one of those Pokemon I feel like more should use, I guess, physical attacks, so maybe just kind of a little similar to Zeraora in a sense in terms of the way it kind of uses abilities and moves and such. So what do you guys think? Would you think a Zoroark would be good in here? Like, you know, similar to like how Zeraora kind of works? Also, I know their names are very similar, but they're very different. But do you think a one like that would make sense, or would you want it to be more like a bulky Pokemon? What kind of position would you want it in? And also, would you want a Zoroark to begin with? Scizor is next. Of course, it just makes sense, right? I mean, Scyther as its pre-evolution would make sense. Evolving into Scizor, it has to be a speedster, right? It can't be anything else. I can't think of anything else it should be. It would work really well in the jungle for jungling, right? So you can clear like a lot of the jungle mobs very early on in the game, very early on in the matches, so to say, super quickly. I think Scizor just makes the most amount of sense in my brain. Maybe I'm crazy, I don't really know, but I personally think it would make the perfect sense to have it in there. So what are you guys' thoughts and opinions on that? Let me know in the comment section down below. Before we continue, this video is brought to you by the people over at Thunder League, who have made a fantastic game that I think you all will quite enjoy. So, Thunder League is essentially an online multiplayer game that features cute animals that take each other on in objective-based matches. The animal is adorable and has unique abilities that will help you take down the opposing team to complete various objectives on the map. The game is currently still in development, but you can follow all the progress being made on the game by checking out the Thunder League social medias, and make sure to please join their Discord channel to follow all the progress they're making. So the game is essentially going to feature various different animals that have different abilities, and then you'll take on objectives like defusing little bombs and stuff. Essentially, it's kind of that same feeling you might get from a game similar to, I don't know, Counter-Strike, or even, I don't know, Call of Duty in some sense. It's kind of that feeling, or maybe even, I guess, Overwatch. If you're thinking of those type of games, then that's essentially what this game is trying to do as well. Honestly, this game looks cute, adorable, and like a fun little romp to have fun with. I'll definitely be checking it out once it releases. And again, thank you to them for sponsoring us on this video. So check out all their social medias, follow their Twitter account right now, join their Discord, everything's going to be linked down below. So thank you again to Thunder League for sponsoring, make sure to check them out, and let's get into the rest of the video. Next is everybody's favorite Generation 1 Pokemon, Dragonite. Now Dragonite has again a longer evolutionary line, so I think it would fit better in maybe a position of an attacker or an all-arounder. I think an all-arounder, kind of similar to Charizard, would maybe make sense for it. We do have like maybe like one of those Pokemon in this case that will be very slow early on with Dratini and Dragoneer, but then as you go forward, as you kind of progress with it and level it up, it would just get stronger and stronger and stronger and just more powerful, and then eventually being really strong at the end, kind of similar to, I guess, Garchomp, right? Garchomp has that same thing where it's really weak early game, like really early into the game you have a hard time with, you know, like, you know, Gabite and, you know, etc. But then as you kind of get to Garchomp, once it's evolved into Garchomp, if you can get fed and early on level up, you're going to have one of the strongest things ever with that thing. So I'm thinking Dragonite could kind of fit into that same position, right? Into kind of that same guise, so to say. Next is Blaziken, and this has to be an attacker. I mean, come on. Also, Blaziken is just one of those many Pokemon that are the starter Pokemon that I think needs to be included. But out of all the ones from Generation 3, I think Blaziken and probably Sceptile are the most logical ones to include. Of course, Swampert also makes sense. Swampert makes sense very much, but I think like Swampert would be better as a defender, possibly, you know, a bit more of a bulky Pokemon, and then of course Blaziken being an attacker, and then we have Sceptile. So basically all the Generation 3 starters I think definitely should be in there. But in case of these ones, I think personally that Blaziken is the most likely one to happen. I think it will fit well as, again, an attacker or maybe a speedster. Now, the reason for the speedster thing is because if you guys remember from specifically Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which were the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, there you had Blaziken and you had a Torchic that had, what, like speed boost on it, like the ability speed boost, I think, something along those lines. So it's a very fast Pokemon, right? So Blaziken as an attacker or more likely a speedster would make a lot of sense. As for Sceptile, I think maybe that should be the all-arounder or attacker from Generation 3, and then specifically you got Swampert, I think should be a defender, more of a bulky Pokemon in my personal opinion. Next up is Metagross, another Pokemon from Generation 3, but in this case, I'm going to be honest though, Metagross could fit really well if we also had Salamence alongside it, right, as a double kind of release, you know, having two Pokemon that sort of both kind of like relate to each other, because they are the only time I think in the Pokemon franchise that we've had two, you know, like these pseudo-legendary Pokemon included into one generation. Usually there's only one, right? Generation 1 had, like, what did we have in Generation 1 again? I cannot even remember. It was Dragonite, right? Generation 1 had Dragonite as a pseudo-legendary. Generation 2 had, I have no clue to be honest, my brain cannot remember. But Generation 3 I remember had Metagross and Salamence, and I think they could fit really well. Also, Metagross has been in a lot of the promotional work for these games. We've also seen Elekid in the promotional art, but I think Metagross is one of the more likely Pokemon to happen. As for what it would be, it only makes sense for it to be a defender. I mean, come on, it just makes sense. As a defender, it would fit really well in there. It's a thick boy, so it just makes sense as a defender. Next is Arcanine. Okay, come on. Growlithe and Arcanine. They just, I mean, it's undeniable. There's some of the most likely possible ones that we could ever get. I think they are super likely, super possible. Like, definitely one of the most likely things ever. Also, especially now with the announcement of, like, a brand new kind of, like, Hisuian, you know, like, Growlithe and possibly, I mean, of course, an Arcanine that's going to be also Hisuian. It only makes sense, then, that we should have, like, some love for Arcanine. Maybe even coinciding with the release or in more information or the reveal of, you know, the Hisuian Arcanine. They could be like, oh, hey, we're releasing, you know, Growlithe and Arcanine in Pokemon Unite. So I think it would make a lot of sense. It would fit really well. Personally, I'd be a big fan of that myself. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next has got to be Golem. Now, Golem, I think, is the perfect defender in this case. So, of course, Golem, if you don't know, evolves from Graveler, who evolves from Geodude. So this would start off as a Geodude, just a little bulky boy that's kind of slow early on. You know, but then as it gets to that, like, you know, heavy defense, I feel like you can have a lot of possibilities for it. Again, I haven't mentioned a lot of supporters here. I don't really have a lot of ideas for support Pokemon, but I do think there's a lot of possibilities for good defender Pokemon, and Golem is one of those. Now, you may have forgotten about this Pokemon, but I have not. I think Golem would fit really well in this game. I think it would, like, really be cool if it's, like, ultimate, like, its Unite move, like, its main Unite move, would be something where it turns, like, into, like, a giant ball and just rolls into people and just makes them, like, you know, disperse or whatever. So in case, like, you're getting pushed by a whole team, you can just bash into them and make them all fly away, allowing yourself a time and maybe even for your team to escape. Or maybe if you push them and they get hit into a wall, they get knocked out for like 2-3 seconds, and then people, you know, your teammates can attack them to take them down. I think that would be a really cool move, a nice way for Golem to operate in this game. Next has got to be the Johto starters. Yes, the Johto starters I think should be included in some way or shape at some point. We can start off like this, okay? First of all, we got Chikorita, who evolves into Bayleaf, who evolves into, geez, my brain just cannot remember right now. Just evolves into big boy, okay? Evolves into Big Boy. Now, Big Boy, I think would fit really well as a supporter. I think Chikorita in its evolutionary line would actually fit really well as essentially, you know, a supporting team, right? It's a supporting Pokemon, as it does have that grass typing. And also, if you guys remember, we also saw it like in that brand new form in Pokemon, like new Pokemon Snap. It was included there as well. So I don't see why we shouldn't have that, right? I think like Chikorita's line should get some love, and as a supporter, I think it would fit well. As for the other ones, we got, of course, Typhlosion, which of course is going to get some love in Pokemon Legends Arceus with, you know, Cyndaquil being included. So, you know, there you got Cyndaquil, Quilava, and then of course Typhlosion. I think it would be good as maybe an all-rounder, possibly even a defender, but I think an all-rounder is what it would fit the best as. Possibly working more with the ranged attacks rather than any close range type of stuff, so ranged moves. I think it would fit really well in there. And then of course we have the last one, which I think would be good as possibly like an attacker, which would be, of course, none else than your boy Feraligatr, and of course you got Totodile and whatnot. So I think Totodile's line and that just line in itself would fit well in that position as more of an attacker, maybe even possibly a defender, possibly, but I would prefer it as an attacker rather than an all-arounder, and a, you know, definitely not a speedster, just wouldn't fit with that, but an attacker would fit really well as it's got that chunky big mouth, can do a lot of damage. Next up is Ampharos. Now this would be the perfect Pokemon for, I guess, range type of moves. I'm thinking ranged electric type moves, just to give you some space, almost working similar to a mage in League of Legends. You know what I mean? Like just somebody who like does damage from distance. That's what I'm thinking for Ampharos here. And also, it is my girlfriend's favorite Pokemon, so I have to include it. But basically, this thing would fit really well. You start off with, you know, you know, you got like the little boys first, you evolve it all the way into Ampharos, and once you're at Ampharos, you got that large damage. I'm thinking kind of similar to a bit like Pikachu, whereas Pikachu sometimes, I feel like, yeah, kind of like Pikachu essentially, minus any close range type of stuff. I feel like it'll fit really well if all you really do is a lot of long range type of attacks. I'm thinking, again, along the lines of what Pikachu works like, so I would love to know your opinions on that one. And finally, I have to include my personal favorite. It has to be Breloom. I mean, come on, man. I have to include this bad boy. It only makes sense. I mean, buddy, it's Breloom. Come on, it's my favorite. It's literally my favorite. I had to include it. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on it, though, but I think Breloom fits well as a speedster or attacker. Again, I know I've included too many attackers and speedsters. You guys probably want to see more supporters and defenders in here, but I think Breloom fits well as a speedster or attacker, and it's one of the coolest Pokemon. It fits really well. You do start off with Shroomish, which maybe you can have it in a way like it could work as an attacker, where, you know, you just poison your enemies more or less, and maybe even can have an ability where you throw out a poison cloud, like poison gas, and then it just, you know, makes it harder for people to walk in certain, like, areas of effect, so you just have a bit of an AoE, essentially. I think that will work really well, and then as it evolves into Breloom, it becomes a bit faster, can attack a bit faster, and things along those lines. So, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on that, lads. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, then drop a like down below. Thanks so much for watching. My name, of course, has been Ruffle Rallet. I love you guys. Thanks so much for staying through, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out. Bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.